Poetry is in us, it's around us, it's all that we are. For some of us, it's what we do, it's what we love. This show is like that, except it's a whole lot more. We're addressing everything that is anything, the big issues, the big topics, the scary things, the ones you don't want to talk about, but you know you face every day. The elephant in the room. Welcome to the show. My name is Jordan Lusaka, and today we're going to be having a wonderful showcase of poet versus poet as they attempt to deliberate on themes and convince you, the audience, that they are right and the other team is wrong. Remember, we're not voting, we're not choosing the winners, we're not dictating, we're not picking and deciding who wins, but you do. You're the one that gets to watch the show and decide who has the right opinion and who does not, based on the themes. So, here's how it works. The poets are going to come here, give you their lines, give you their piece, drop the bars. Apparently that's what they say. They'll drop the bars and you get to decide if they have convinced you of their opinion of whatever the motion is. That's the simple rule. And you get to decide who wins. Today's theme, corporal punishment. Should we hit our kids or not? I don't know. I'm concerned about my kids now. But they will let us know what they think. But before we get into that, let's meet our team leaders, Creed and TGV.
Hello everyone, my name is Raphael Banda, on stage known as Creed, a medical student at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University and representing the proposing team to the motion which states we should hit our kids. I believe we'll win because we put in the work. Love is discipline and we are products of discipline.
What's up guys? My name is Mugatam Sonda, also known as TGV. I'm a student at Zikas. I am on the opposing side of the motion today. And the reason why we are winning today is because proposing to such a motion is like a pregnant woman standing in the courts of law claiming she's not a virgin. It's illogical.
Now that we've got to meet our team leaders, let's get into it with our first poet that is proposing to the motion, Jojo with the beard.
In every universe and in every timeline, he was there. In the beginning, Lesa created the heavens and the multiverse. But in one reality, he created the first man and the first woman, Uwa and Chipo, Africa's first parents. Like other realities, the fall of man was the pinnacle of their story. But in this new one, Lesa decided to give them the knowledge of good and evil and make himself the child for them to raise. And so, in the Garden of Noriva, it began. The parenting of a divine son, aware of his providence. But as the knowledge increased, so did their curiosity. Even though they knew right from wrong, they decided to disobey, curious of the tree. Why couldn't we eat from the tree? What was it? Aware of their consequence, aware of their disobedience, refusing to listen to their own son. What could he tell them? He was just a child after all, an infant. You can eat from any tree, my son, except the baobab tree. Chipo, his mother, would say. But as time and time went, a hyena, chuckling and laughing, challenged their knowledge. How do you know the tree will kill you? Lesa tried to stop his parents, but his father told him, what do you know? You're just a boy. And so they fell. And as they fell, and as they fell, and as they fell, they realized that their son was their creator. And as a loving father, he did what any father would do. Punish them. The tree, the hyena, and man. To the hyena, he cursed him to be in enmity with every single being. To the tree, he cursed it to thirst forever in the desert. And to man, in this reality, he cursed them to thrive and thirst for eternity. Longing for immortality, longing to live as long as Lesa. This was the price of their disobedience. But the price of disobedience is equal to the price of love. For he wouldn't punish them if he didn't love them. at least they got to live.
That was Jojo the poet who came through with the first piece proposing to the motion. Let's get the first person on the opposing team. Behold the geek poet.
This hurts me more than it will hurt you. Now stop resisting so that I can beat some sense into you. We're the only comforting words that would land on the little girl's ears as her mother would whip her behind. Anywhere the whip would land, you had to try me. Girl, you know I have loose hands, she would point out, trying to justify her forceful expressions towards her child, when the alternative would have been to guide her with much care and show her the right way to grow. Instead, she was left to be brought up by the whip that marked her young body still growing with scars that never fade, similar to tattoos that remind her of lessons she failed to learn. Couldn't there have been a better way to teach her? Unfortunately, it seems there is a devil in that whip that possesses the handler and at every stroke captures the conscience of the victim to subjugate, compelling the child to grow up in fear of the person they need to become. And the one place that could have been an escape for her proves to be not any different when her teachers apply the same method of breaking. Teaching using brute force of flogging was thought to be a better option as motivation for her when she failed to comprehend a concept. But she is stuck between worlds, so takes refuge in the safe place of her mind with her imaginations. And as she grows, she's forced to pack the beef, and is unknowingly haunted by painful memories when her life would be put at stake, causing a stimulation of involuntary reactions followed by undesired actions as she lashes out onto anyone to unpack the grief. From her childhood traumas, it seems the hurting never left her streets. Now I know this is a sad imagery, but it is something many have gone through. Scrolling through memories, I recall being subjected to pain at an early age for mistakes I made, not knowing, but still got the beating in the end. Only to grow up with a facade of a man broken. I die every now and then trying to make my life worthwhile, wishing if only I had enjoyed those days when I used to be young. Words weren't at all friendly. Name-calling and curses. The brain registers psychological and physical pain to be the same, so the pain and damage is quite unimaginable. Accused of being demon-possessed, her mother would conduct a form of an exorcism to beat the devil out of her, and her tears were holy water. So to heck with the devil the day she decides to seize the stream and take a stand for herself. To either become like her mother, emotionless when she should care, and so self-centered that she will go the extra mile to have her own way regardless of who she hurts in the end, continuing the cycle of violence, or remain the shy little girl, convinced she's all alone in the world, drowning in her own despair, sealed in a cocoon where she loathes and fears herself, all because she forced her mother's hand when she only wanted to be a child. Behold, there are two things involved.
So, that was our first round of poets. This is going to be interesting. I'm curious to know what they have to say about corporal punishment, because this is a big deal in most families, especially today. Next up, Uchizi.
Chipo danced with fire once and didn't get burnt. She loved its warmth, she loved its scent. Again she danced, just tingled a little. But she's a big girl, she can handle it. Again she danced, just pins and needles. And she's a smart girl, she can handle it. Again she danced, but her body's turning numb. But she's a big girl, she can handle it. Again, again, again. Again Chipo lusted after the fruit of the forbidden. Again she dined and didn't burn. Caution echoed through her ears, but she heeded them not. She neither had a God nor punishment to fear. Possessions detained, restrictions given, suspensions and grounds on which she's been grounded on, she feared them not. How else if not by physically engaging can Chipo be led to repentance for every bad turn that's in too deep? There's only enough words to use till your mouth turns bitter and tongue venomous. Only enough words until your last resort is turning mute. See, there's some outcomes too hard to explain by mouth that the hand does the talking. For every part of the body has a role to play, and if the mouth and mind have failed their part, then the hand can lend a hand in making things right. Instead of saying no chipo, don't, no chipo, stop, no chipo, do not eat of the fruit of the garden, a rod on a hand, Jesus' words too big, too tedious, too redundant to speak over and over again. The best lessons learned in life are practical. A practical show of correction teaches more than oral words. Don't cut deep enough to let the cheapos of this world know that at some age, there will be things they'll wish so badly they could undo. So when you see your words of wisdom Thanos into mid-air at a snap of a finger, when you see your kid zone out and your words at war with their wild thoughts, what ought you do? Raise your tempo and tell them again, no chipo. Don't, no chipo. Stop, no chipo. I know what's at the end of that rainbow. It ain't no pot of gold, and now you're at a war zone. An oral battle royale with your words running on E. When you see your kid marvel at things unclean, will you for an infinity say, no baby, don't, no baby, stop, no baby, or snap them back to a universe where their actions have repercussions just as grave? Little did not so little Chipo know that the scent that she loved the most each time she drew close to the fire was that of her getting burnt. Since we all know that actions speak louder than words, when we simply say no, isn't it then safe to say that it won't always be enough?
Some cheesy came through with the flames. Cheesy came through with the flames. Yo, we're gonna get into our second point from the proposing team. This is the blinded poet.
People call me a freak, for I take pleasure in your pain. It makes me feel whole. Doctors say I've got bipolar disorder because I change from time to time, so maybe they are right. But it's what I've grown up with. One day you're a good kid, the next they're spanking me so hard. One moment they're hugging me, the next they're choking me. I can't be around people unless I'm either receiving or inflicting pain. Forgive me if I'm a little bit weird, for I have known no love or appreciation. I just got beat up every time I did wrong. I am more aware of every stroke ever used, the back of every slipper mom wore, the bare knuckles of dad's punches, and the hardness of my teacher's duster. I know the structure of a beltless west, twisting to land blows I couldn't dodge. So if I'm a little bit aggressive, do not be offended, because that's normal to me. 100 children die annually, and lucky enough I wasn't among them. But saying suicide didn't cross my mind would be a big fat lie, because it became a constant friendly thought every time I was subjected to a beating. Mom said it was in my best interest that I dance to the tune of dad's belt, but my legs were too swollen to even compete with spaghetti. Mental health slowly deteriorating, so says the doctor. I lost my sanity way back ago. I've been living off anxiety and depression. I lost touch with humanity. I am in my own dream world. Freddy Krueger is my best friend because we both feed off pain. But I wasn't always like this, you know. I just got bullied and beaten so much so that I became the villain. Succumbed to the melody of the whip. Even tried to reciprocate it onto others. Hummed to the sound of mom's chattering in my ear every night. It was a beautiful, beautiful, harsh song that made me a great dancer while avoiding pots and cooking sticks being thrown at me. That was my reality. And it was as real as anything you can touch. So I found it weird that there are people out there being loved by their parents, being comforted with warm hugs and kisses on their foreheads, never once being threatened or hit. I just wish I had that privilege when growing up. Maybe I wouldn't be called Hannibal Lecter or Michael Myers. Thank you.
Yo, it's getting intense now. I don't know whether the proposing team is winning me over or the opposing team is winning me over. But where's your stand on corporal punishment? Also, based on their opinions, how are you translating it? Get in the comments. Let's chat, guys. Let's chat. But in the meantime, let's hear from our team leaders again. We're going to hear from Creed and TGV. And this time I will not be here to interrupt. They're going to come in back to back as they battle for supremacy on the Elephant in the Room show. First up, Creed.
I come from spare the road and spoil the child. And it's a long line of metal benders, women who panel beat, disfigured behaviors into well-shaped character. I have lived with women of steel, iron ladies whose minds have been totally stacked with wisdom to make straight every wrinkled path before you slave away. I come from a warning followed by a thunderclap. Here, they do not upload nonsense here. So try being funny. Find yourself employed as an engineer building problems, designing chaos, going bolts and nuts and always screwing up. They screw you down and do zadap. It's not even the man thing but do for lamambama. So they have a disciplinary committee composed of patapatas and leather belts. These belts do not hold or support any form of West behaviors. They have brooms. They used to sweep floors, but when you mess up, watch how they clean and sweep your floors. It took clean character when I was 10. I remember picking up life lessons I learned. That a cooking stick has two functions. One, to cook good food, and two, to cook good character because bad behavior doesn't taste so good. I remember how trying to think outside the matchbox turned me into a flame. My burning curiosity almost setting our place ablaze, but I lived with human fire extinguishers in dawn days. I behaved like an earthquake, trying to shake and flip the house upside down. They sat me down, compressed the seismic waves, channeled this energy in one direction. These are stories of my life. I remember overheating with excitement until my total body water started boiling, but I was waved. I was cooked into pulp. My mother's 5 fingers slapped me to common sense, and since the days of my teens, I was caned. I'm now able to stay preserved. See how I share perpendicular morals in these stanzas. Check the bars I spit and be sure to find a sober spirit and wisdom and from experience. And if experience is the best teacher, then class, listen. Today's subject demands your ears, so please pay attention, and I promise to give you change, so listen. Tolerating abnormal child growth is like promoting cancer and inflicting its symptoms on society, but discipline is the perfect chemotherapy, and as siblings, as parents, it's our job, it's our duty to initiate that treatment. There are so many realities in the story of Lesa, Uwa, and Chipo, but today in this poem, my name is Uwa. I come from a Christian home. My mother is a woman of faith. I have seen her plant and mustard seeds in this garden where Eden redesigned. And my siblings and I have been trained, have been cultivated to never germinate into forbidden fruits. Creed.
As she slices through the air and every stroke hits the base of his bass, he had nothing but a straight face, which she interpreted as stubbornness. Because with the size of this cane, this kid should be drowning in the tears of his pain. So she decides to use an example of him. She decides to raise the heat like it's October 2021, asks everybody else to take a seat. I'm gonna make an example out of this one. She pulls him closer, grabs the duster, and asks him, "You think you're a star, huh? Assume the position." So he holds his fingers up like this, looks her straight into her eyes, and as though her heart wanna stare down contest with Medusa, she decided to ignore the stare, the look in his eyes. She hit him. Bah! "Oh, so you think you're a star, huh? Bah! I'm gonna make an example out of you. Bah! Misbehaving in my class. Bah!" And as she hit him, he still didn't cry. You wanna know why? Because he was disconnected. Completely disconnected. While she tried to show him how not to misbehave, he interpreted that as acts of hate. See, all he wanted to do was tell his friends about this new cartoon on Nickelodeon. He finally got DSTV back at home, so it's his turn to tell the cool stories. He's a creative young guy with a burning desire to color outside the box. He's the expressive type, the type to stick gum in your hair out of curiosity. He means no harm, but she sees this as being wild and indisciplined, so she chooses to use the road to try and show him the right road. What she doesn't realize is not sparing the road still spoils the child and turns them cold. Instead of using words to understand, educate, and communicate, she chooses to use a primitive method that has more cons than an ice cream truck. If you choose to use corporal punishment as a way to educate a child, it's evidence that you don't have the intelligence to communicate with this child. If you're offended, I'm not sorry. It's just the honest truth. It's TGV.
My name is Jordan Lusaka, and you've been watching The Elephant in the Room. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for liking, thank you for commenting, thank you for following us. If you haven't already, make sure you do those things. And catch you on the next episode, alright?